Hello YouTube, it is Amanda again, and I have a review for A Canticle for Leibowitz with you. As you know, I read this at the end of last year, and this was a buddy read with Final Blow Joe, and I'll link his channel below. I'm pretty sure that he already has a review out on this book. I need to double check that though, because I'm a horrible booktuber, as evident by this video. I filmed this review last year after we finished an extremely slow buddy read on my behalf, which is why I'm doing his video first, because what should have been a 10-day read turned in 5 weeks because for some reason, every time I picked this up, I fell asleep. So it was completely my fault, and I greatly appreciated his patience, and we had some nice back and forth about the concepts within the book, and I went back and forth for how I'm going to rate this. So I initially gave it 3 stars, and the more I think about it, the better the book has gotten, if that makes any sense. And I'm not one of those people who everything is a 5-star 6 months later. I'm not quite that bad. It's not been 6 months. But this is one of those, the more that I've thought about the concepts within the book, the more they've meant to me over time. And Joe and I had some really good conversations on some of the backstory and back and forth about how information was presented in the book. And that's something that I actually quite enjoyed. I really enjoyed that we sort of learned with the main characters. So we start in a wasteland and we don't really understand what's going on. I knew nothing about this book going in, and I needed to put it down, so I stopped gesturing with it. I didn't know anything about this book going into the read, and I did that on purpose because I know this is sort of a, not cult favorite, but it's one of those sort of iconic science fiction. And I didn't know that much about it, and I really wanted to read this as naively as I could. And I really enjoyed the perspective of the novel. So I really liked how it's just like things would be if you were to jump 500 years into the future. You as a reader understand an object that a character within the book is picking up. So it's a fuse or something like that. But they don't, and they've assigned all of these meanings to not innate objects, but everyday mundane things from our world, because our world has become rare. And it's really interesting to look at history that way, and also to learn about how history repeats itself. That's a main concept throughout this novel, and it's presented in a way that I really enjoyed, and it has some twists and some turns within the novel that I also didn't really see coming. And there's several times throughout the different sections that I wasn't really sure what I just read. And the ending was something that I didn't anticipate, but I also sort of felt them gearing up toward. And the entire novel is basically where religions come from and how we assign meanings to things that we may or may not understand, and independent of religion, and how we keep repeating the same mistakes as our ancestors. And I think those 3 concepts really carried the book for me. I enjoyed the writing style. I also really enjoyed the world, so the way that we saw the world and how we interacted with it, and that made this a very enjoyable read, even though it took me forever. So I apologize again, Joe, for that. But I did like this, and I think that I've upped my rating from 3 stars to 4. I thought about 3.5, and I decided that this is probably a book that I'm going to reread multiple times for it all to really sink in, because there's so many times that I had this book just completely covered in little flags at one point, which I've all taken out now because I realized I couldn't remember why I tagged it, because it's been too long. And I think it's one of those I need to go back through to really grasp the entirety of the novel and the weight of it. So as most of you know, the start of the book happens in our future, and it's post-apocalyptic. So there's been a nuclear event, and then you have sort of an age of anti-reason. So people blame the events of this nuclear fallout and the disaster that happened and the shortages that happened on scientists and the educated. So they're hunted and their texts and notes and the science is destroyed, and that creates these not cults, but these sort of specific religious followings that harbor and save the scientists. But that means that because their ranks are now swelling with scientists, that they value science and education and literacy more than the average roaming person in this world. And the terminology was also something that I really enjoyed, because it took me a while to get the geography within the world. So it talked about New Rome, and then it talked about the communications that it took to communicate with New Rome, and that it was like 6 days away. Okay, well, that's not really Rome. So piecing it together as an outsider was actually one of the big joys of this book for me. Not just the content, but the way that it was presented, I think was very unique. And I think that Joe and I both had similar problems, where there were parts that were a little slow. There were pieces that felt like they not necessarily didn't belong, but that just sort of, once again, was a little slow and prolonged the story in a way that I didn't find enjoyable. And there were a few things that I really wish we had gotten to see more of that weren't expanded on. So there were some criticism for this book, but overall, I think I might reread it again this year. I'm not sure. It's one of those that I had a physical copy for. I bought it used. I had planned to resell it again. But after some contemplation, I think that I'm going to keep it, and I think I'm going to reread it. Anyway, if you have thoughts on A Canticle for Leibowitz, please leave them below and let me know what you thought. This is one of those I still need to think about. It's been a few months, and Joe and I both, at the end of our buddy read, were like, yeah, I'm going to have to just think about this some more, because I need to really understand what I just read, because you get it, and you get it as a story, but the meaning for you and how it sort of reflects both religion and some of the struggles that we deal with today, it takes a while to really get through that. And I think I'm still in that phase. And I think upon reread, I'll see it through a new lens. And I think that will be very valuable, because I did go into this completely naive. And I think now that I have a better idea of the story and where it's going, I think it will be a different read, because I'm going to notice things that are different other than just the world, which was one of the best things for me, really. Anyway, I will wrap this up, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.